Today is Tuesday, October the 19th, and the McClellan oscillator did what we expected it to do. It came off of the overbought line, but it moved up a little bit from yesterday, but still, it's in this area here where it's more likely to be heading down and not up. Are there any other examples where, we pulled back from the overbought line and then reached up again? Well, yes, in here we had all this chatter and the market just kept moving up during that time, but it hasn't happened since. So we really need now to turn to the charts, and the Dow Jones shows that it's moving higher towards its previous record high, where it's bound to meet some resistance and bound to what I think, which we called in the video yesterday, be attracted by this flat cloud. It's really quite a long flat cloud, and it just today made a reversal in its Senkou span B on the top and Senkou span A on the bottom. They reversed. That's a good thing, but we're still going to come down and bounce off of this flat cloud. NASDAQ, on the other hand, NASDAQ, its chikou span, 26 periods back, fell off of this bottom of this candle, which really means it should be heading downwards because you have all of these candles here acting as resistance. It would be very unusual to see it move through those candles. And the price just barely reached the top of the cloud and stuck its head out a little bit, but one could think that it's heading downwards. The S&P, much like the Dow Jones, the chikou span is free. It's heading up for a double top where it's surely going to meet resistance, and the volatility index is telling us that nobody is worried about anything. There's a lot of complacency out there. Now, Apple had a big day, but its chikou span finished the day right. I mean, its highest point was right there, but where did it finish the day? Exactly at the bottom of the wick, the tail of this candle. So those are expired now. Those were losers. We should take some of these previous predictions out. This really does look like, it could head downwards. Netflix had good earnings tonight. So does that mean a good thing for Apple? It has its earnings next week. But if we're looking for support, it would be the chikou span coming down to the 50 and then possibly breaking out towards the end of the week. Which other one do we want to look at? Caterpillar had a big day, and Caterpillar is really moving up nicely. Where did it have its high today? Rejected right off of the 50 moving average. I think overall Caterpillar is looking like a strong stock, and we really do have to be concerned about a bounce off of these candles, but overall Caterpillar should be moving higher. It also has a dividend, and expiry date is coming up. Check it, but it's coming up fairly shortly, and it's a really nice dividend. It's a dividend of $1.11, and it looks like 22. It looks like Friday is going to be ex-dividend, so expect it to pull back on Friday, which means it would probably hit the 200, and the chikou span would move up to this candle here. So we might see a move of Caterpillar up to the 200, and then we might see a move downwards, and that would coincide with the rest of the market hitting its high. IBM, somebody said some bad thing about IBM recently. Look at this rejection of the chikou span on the top of the cloud, and now losing the cloud, but support on the 50. I was able to keep all of the money on those calls, and now I've sold the October 22 150 calls is what I'm holding on to now. Where else are we going to? NIO. NIO, rejection at the bottom of the cloud. Chikou span, probably, where was the chikou span today? It was right at this spot right there, which means what? The chikou span had resistance exactly on the 50. So where does it look like it's going? Should be tough going for NIO now, and the stochastic momentum index, the fast mover, is bending downwards, starting to move down. But over the long term, the slower moving stochastic has been bottoming out for such a long time, it is due to move higher. Really like that stock. I don't have any short calls covering my 1,500 shares there. Sava now is just waiting for some clinical trial results, and because they're in FDA, there may not be, they're in phase 3. There may be interim phase 3 data coming out. That would be sometime in December. But in the meantime, this is a stock that's trading with the technicals. Resistance off the 50, support on this Fibonacci 38.2. Where is the chikou span? Sort of buried here. Looks like it could get support on the top of those candles. And if that happens, then we would see NIO moving upwards if the chikou span gets support on the candles. Square is the last one that we're going to look at. No, we're going to look at one more after this. We're going to look at US Bank. But we had today, its high today was right here. So let's try to draw that. Where is the high? Where was it? We'll look at that. The chikou span resistance exactly on the 50 moving average. This is so important, looking at the chikou span and where it's going to get resistance. But overall, this is low resistance here. We should expect Square to move nicely upwards through this little bit of resistance once it gets above the 50 on the chikou span gets through the 50. And the last one we're going to look at is US Bank, which has really been doing nicely. Had this pullback from 63, but it bounced off of the 50, ended up at 61.35 today. But like the rest of the market, look at the Dow and the S&P. We see the same thing happening with this stock as we do with the others. It's bound to see resistance at this level. If we look at its previous high was here. That might be all she wrote for it there, above 62, and then that would be a pullback. But it's a really good stock for the future. I really like it. JP Morgan, of course, is more expensive to buy, and it's done well, but it looks exactly like US Bank does in terms of movement. So overall, be careful. The McClellan index is telling us that we're more likely to move downwards. We may chatter, we may move up and hit this overbought, but we're going to move downwards.